Yo, what's good, everybody? What's good? Stormy B Man, and I'm back. The Kung Fu edition of the Chop Session. And today, we're going to profile a film that is truly a classic in the genre. A little independent film by the name of Legend of a Fighter. For those of you who enjoy the genre, Kung Fu films often star the same cast of characters, familiar faces, and fighters that we've seen time and time again. Usually, the characters are stereotypical, and you kind of know what to expect when you see a particular actor on the screen. This film happens to have the luxury of starring a couple of veterans who were very noteworthy during the mid-70s and early 80s. And two of them are featured in the production art photo here that I've posted. The star of the film, Liang Jiren, and Japan famous Yasuke Kurata. Yasuke Kurata is one of the few Japanese stars who found his way in the midst of the Hong Kong film craze in Hong Kong, starring in a lot of their productions. Unfortunately, he was typecast as a villain, but he was such a damn good one that I think audiences and even he himself relished the opportunity every time he appeared on the screen. You know, Yasuke also was a member of Sonny Chiba's action team. And it was Sonny Chiba who lent him out to the Hong Kong film industry, knowing that his talents were right along the line of what they expected when it came to action choreography. He could perform all of the martial arts techniques and then some, quite naturally better than even some of the choreographers of the films. Yasuke was a veteran martial artist in Japanese karate, and his techniques were stellar. You could actually see when he punched and kicked, he did it with proper form and technique, and he had excellent timing, which made him a great fighter for on-screen fighting. Sometimes actors and actresses would have to sell the techniques to make them look both effective, powerful, and to make them look like they were, meaning the actor and actress were very capable. Most Hong Kong film stars in the early 70s were not martial artists at all. They just followed the techniques that a choreographer had laid out for them for an action scene. And it wasn't really until the success of Bruce Lee's films that they start considering real martial artists for the starring roles, the lead roles. Most Hong Kong action stars were stuntmen behind the scenes, the ones taking the blows, falls, crashes, and etc. And it was a handsome guy cast in the role as the star, or an actress who was renowned for her looks or whatever in the lead role for females. I want to take a moment and acknowledge, I got Joseph Brown out here. Good afternoon, Joseph. What's up, man? You saw that film? I recommended it, and I was hoping that someone would come in today who had a chance to view the film before checking out my little expose on it. This film, I happened to stumble upon it late. I caught it in the mid-90s, but as you could see as I've posted, the film was released in 1982. And man, was I pissed that I had ran into the film so late. It is truly worth viewing. Joseph says, great movie, Stormy B, with thumbs ups. The fight scenes were some of the best I've seen. And he says, yes, he played a lot of villain roles. I remember seeing him in those roles as a kid. Oh, yeah, talking about Yasuke Kurata. You know, I refer to him, looking back, like the Japanese Tommy Lee Jones. He kind of even had that sinister a charisma about himself, like a Tommy Lee Jones. Very strange, because Yasuke, he could have been a leading man, but he just kept playing villain after villain. Sometimes his villain was on the sneak. You know, he'd come into a role and seemingly be an on-the-level guy, and next thing you know, he's backstabbing somebody, and, you know, they got to take him out. So he was really good at what he did. Very good. To get back to the star of the film, Liang Jia-ren, who developed the nickname over the years as being referred to as Beardy, you know, because he mostly wore a beard in his films. And he played bad guys in most of the Shaw Brothers productions, and it was in the independent films that he found his niche as playing anti-heroes and heroic characters. Now, when I say independent films, films like Legend of the Fighter were made by small production companies that were formed by some of the Hong Kong action stars. You know, Sammo Hung, Lau Kar-wing, Yuan Yu Ping, Ng Si Yuan. These guys all formed these companies when the big studios like Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest weren't willing to make the films that they wanted to make. Yes, even over there, you had the artists who were limited and crippled by the studios. The studios thought they knew best what the audiences wanted. So setting up these independent companies that were really cheaply budgeted productions and typically made in countrysides, and a lot of the times you saw the sets reused over and over again in different films. You could see guys walking down the same streets or in the same cabins or whatever that another film may have featured. They just redressed the sets. But these films were made because these artists had visions of what they wanted to do and how to best exhibit their talents. And it worked. A lot of the independent films did so much better. And this film, made by Seasonal Film Corporation, who produced such classics such as the other two films that I've reviewed already, Snake in the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master. This company made those films also. The director of the film, Yuen Wu-Ping, who is the eldest son of Simon Yuen, who played the Drunken Master and the old Snake Master in Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. And Wu-Ping had a number of siblings, brothers, and they all learned martial arts from their dad, and they worked behind the scenes mostly in most of the Hong Kong action films as stuntmen and choreographers. And on this production, the youngest of the brothers, Yuen Yat Kor, he plays the young version of Fucking Gap, who is played by Beardy as an adult. So just looking at the production, you could see there was so much going on with how these films were produced and the talent behind them. It didn't take a lot of money. It just took a lot of capability by the artists who got out there and did their thing. Another anecdote about Liang Kar-yan, the star of the film, playing the adult fucking Gap. And as I pronounce the names, there are Cantonese dialect pronunciations as well as Mandarin. I do believe that Fuck Yum Gap is the Mandarin pronunciation of the name of the character, who was a true life person. And Ho Yin Jia is the Cantonese pronunciation of the name. Now, Ho Yin Jia, or Fuck Yum Gap, was revered and remembered in Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury. He was the teacher that Bruce Lee's character Chin Chin avenged. He was the founder of the Ching Wu School of Martial Arts. And at that time, around the early turn of the century, the early 1900s, Young Gao was an innovative martial arts instructor who believed in opening up a gym where various martial arts instructors could come to his school and teach martial arts to the people. He had an open mind toward martial arts learning and felt that the best aspects of learning martial arts came from learning from one another, different styles, and being able to combine them and have a unity amongst the people. Because in old China, the martial artists were highly respected, and they formed units and groups of protection, militia. They were escorts. They were like independent armies who protected the land and the people. Ho Yen Cha felt like being able to combine so many instructors from the various provinces and styles of martial arts that it could unite the people even more. And he was also known for defeating foreign champions who sought to come through Southeast Asia and have physical dominance over the Chinese people. There were many European, German, Russian, and other champions from various physical forms of fighting, whether they were wrestlers, boxers, street fighters. They came through looking to wage war against the Chinese. And Phuoc Yun Gap led resistance against them. And it was also depicted in the more modern film Fearless with Jet Li. And that's the character that Jet Li was playing in the film Phuoc Yun Gap. And Fearless is a remake of Legend of the Fighter. So that's a little bit of history on these films. You know, Joseph Brown says, I think this movie highlighted has some much versatility. I enjoyed the storyline. The name would make me laugh at different times when they used it in the movie, which was Bruce Lee's best movie, in my opinion. Yeah, Fist of Fury. What made Bruce Lee's success in Fist of Fury was this. Not only his charisma and everything, which was definitely off the charts, he brought something fresh when he made that film to Hong Kong film industry. But the way he was able to fight and perform his martial arts on screen, you could look at it and tell he knew what he was doing. But he was in the element of his people with his Western philosophies and the shared experience of growing up Chinese with his Western nationality, because Bruce Lee was an American. He was born in America, but raised in Hong Kong. A man who stood between two continents. You know, it was really something that the audiences hadn't seen over there. And because he was such a capable man, athletically and martial arts wise, he gave them something that didn't exist on film there prior to him. It was a fascinating thing to see. It's kind of like here in America. We didn't have what was referred to now as blockbuster films until Jaws in 1976. When Steven Spielberg's Jaws got released and it ran away with the summer box office that year, it started something we hadn't seen before, the summer blockbuster. And then after that, every year, it was like, what film is it going to be? Is it going to be Star Wars? It's going to be Indiana Jones, or it's going to be Star Trek or something. Every year, there was a blockbuster film for the summer. And then there were a few blockbuster films each summer, and has been ever since. But that Germation period where it was the first, it really put audiences in a place where They were chomping at the bit to see what was coming next. That's what Bruce Lee's impact had on martial arts film over there. So you couldn't just go back to the old swingy arm and flaring kicks action where guys fought for 20 minutes and got stabbed and cut and everything and continued to fight and tie his shirt around his guts to hold his guts in and keep fighting. All that stuff was like overhyped and thought of as very unrealistic. So people would not get into that after Lee came on the scene. And it's funny that his film featured Fuck Young Gap as the person who was being avenged. And it was being avenged by Lee, who was bringing in a new wave of martial action for the screen. And it tied right into the philosophy of what fucking Gap meant and what he meant to the Chinese people. And that attributed Lee a great deal of support and success, because when he stood before those Japanese in the dojo and he told them, now you listen to me, I'm only going to say this once, we are not sick men. They say that Hong Kong audiences lost their shit when they saw that scene. The people were jumping up in the air, screaming, yelling, praising him for kicking their suppressors' ass and kicking them literally in the ass. Because Lee literally kicked the Japanese dojo instructors in the ass before he left. Man, what a classic. I'll have to do something on that film. But let me get back to Legend of a Fighter. Because Legend of a Fighter has a great deal of background about fucking Gap's learning, and came to a point where the story ends talking about how he was revered and triumphant for his people. But there is tragedy attached to his legend. And that was explored more in Jet Li's version of the film, which maybe I'll even have to do a chop session on that film as well. But getting back to Liang Jiaren, he was a former contracted star with Shaw Brothers who actually wrote the studio to inquire about an opportunity to have a tryout, because he liked action films and he wanted to be a part of action film making. And he was granted the opportunity. But what was amazing about his athletic gifts, he says that he had never studied martial arts. But when the choreographers taught him the movements in the productions that he starred in, he could execute the movements as if he were a veteran martial arts fighter. And to a great deal and degree better than stars who were in the same films. I don't believe Liang Jiaren has no martial arts background. If he truly, in real life, doesn't, he has to be one of the most phenomenal athletes of all time. If you watch this man fight on screen in films such as this, Legend of a Fighter. He's also starred in other classics like Two on the Road, Thundering Mantis, The Sleeping Fist, The Victim. He has such great timing and athleticism, and is so good with his hands and his feet. It is simply unbelievable that this man never studied martial arts a day in his life, only through the choreographers who would teach him styles on the screen. Unbelievable. I want to go back to the chat for a moment. Joseph Brown says, I like Legend of a Fighter. It was better than Fearless. Well, it's what you prefer. Most of the old school Hong Kong films are better than the new school films simply because the choreography meant that the performers had to execute with such refined technique and everything that they had longer, wider shots, had to mimic more movements in a single take, and the camera angles were positioned in wonderful angles to show and highlight the action best for viewing audiences. Now it's just glitz and wire work, and everything is fast cut. That's how you know that the technique is not really there. When they edit the camera and they show these angles and everything is so fast and close up that you can't see what's really going on. Those are poorly shot kung fu film sequences. When they bring it back to a medium shot or a long shot where you can see the actors from head to foot and they're executing their movements, that's when you know it's being shot in a more dynamic manner to feature the techniques that are being performed on screen. See, that's a little bit of a lesson for people that didn't know that about action scenes and how they're shot. Closer lensed shots and quick cuts hide and cover up the actor's inability to do it real or to perform it where it's very convincing. Nassim the Dream is in the house. He says, Stormy B-Man, salute family. And Joseph Brown, salute. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens is out there. He says, salute OG. Salute to you, brother. Nassim the Dream is saying salute. Act Reacher 45 said, damn, I wanted to be on this. Joseph Brown says, Reggie Owens, salute, homie. Act says, Act, this movie was fantastic. It's jumping up on me. It's got more comments coming in. Nassim the Dream says, shit, when Jaws came out, my little ass thought that was a horror movie. It was, in a way. Man, you know what was funny about the result of Jaws? Fucking people stopped going to the beaches and the lakefronts, man. After that film came out, they were saying that lifeguards and stuff were looking for work because the beaches and stuff, that movie scared people from the water for a couple of years. And now you got folks going out there being chewed up by sharks left and right in Florida, and they too dumb to get out the water. What the hell? But yeah, Jaws, it had such a tremendous impact on particularly the American public. People were just like, don't go in the water. It was, man, it was something. I remember it. I was old enough. I was 10, 13 years old at the time. when it came out. And man, that had a serious impact on audience, big time. So let's see. We got more people saying what's up to each other. Joseph Brown says, yeah, I remember him saying that in an interview. And Nassim the Dream says, who remember that joint, 7 Blows of the Dragon? Look here, Nassim. Go watch Legend of a Fighter. Don't come in here trying to bring up other titles that'll be discussed at a later date. Do your homework. Get your butt over there on YouTube and watch Legend of a Fighter. Then you're going to be wishing you could come back and contribute some conversation to this like Joseph Brown did, and he's still telling you how good it is, and you're talking about something else. Sit down. No, but really, please, if you haven't had a chance to see Legend of a Fighter, it is really a classic kung fu film. This movie has a very good plot where Fuck Young Gap was the son of Master Ho, who ran his own Kung Fu Institute and was revered for his special, what they call the Wah Fist style. It was a style where he could hit someone and punch them to death. You know, it was a death blow that he could deliver. And he mastered this technique, and he had a small circle of students who followed him. And his son grew up very asthmatic and weak. And back in those times, Chinese men looked at sons who had illnesses and weaknesses like asthma or something like that, like a curse. And the son wasn't allowed to join his kung fu class and couldn't learn from him. And he wanted to fight. He wanted to learn how to do kung fu and possibly be an heir to his dad one day. And his dad refused for him to even look in on his classes. He banished him away, and he banished him to a life of studying. Okay. And that was the other thing about Chinese men in society at that time. You know, if you were gay or something like that, they kill you. You were not even allowed to be a functional part of society. You were disgraced. You were macho if you took up martial arts and respected. Even if you weren't good, you might be made fun of, but you were given a certain amount of respect being a martial artist. If you couldn't be that, then you had to be a scholar. And scholars were just thought of as someone who could come in and teach the children in society and stuff like that. And, you know, they were down on the rung of the ladder of society. So, young Fuck Young Gap had to concentrate on his studies. Now, the film depicts Yasuki Kurata as one of his instructors, who also makes a covenant with him to teach him martial arts, because Yasuki's character is from Japan and he's playing a scholar, but he's really a martial artist who came to study martial arts in China. and also specifically Young Gap's father, that style. And he was doing it on the down low under the guise of being a scholar. And so teaching Young Gap his martial arts and also leaving him with a manual where he learned the father's style by watching the father every once in a while when he could catch glimpses of him. And because he was a dynamic martial artist in his own right, he could understand the techniques and everything. So he was able to visibly pick up on him when he didn't know he was being watched and learn the style. But he wrote everything down for the son so the son could learn the style on his own. And this is how the film plays that out. I'm not certain if that's how it happened in real life, because even in Jet Li's Fearless, they show Young Gap being taught, and he had a friend who was scholarly, who was helping him with his homework and stuff like that while he was trying to study his daddy's arts. But nonetheless, some kind of way, he was able to learn the dad's style. And it gave him a chance to be able to exhibit his art in such a manner that once the dad found out, the dad made a covenant to make Young Gap his successor and apologized to the ancestors for not allowing the son to take over, even though he was weak as a child and asthmatic and things like that. Like I said, in Chinese culture, certain things and ethics are like so severely adhered to, it really gives you room for pause when you think of how you have things here in America and how you are blessed to be able to kind of live your life without people dictating to you about your choices and things like that. This film takes you through a series of vignettes where Young Gap is put in situations where he can display his martial arts. And that's where the film really shines, in the action choreography. There are so many dynamic fight set pieces in this film that are subtle. And they don't bang you over the head with the action either. It's the scenes are not long, but they fit the story. And the execution of the fighting in the film is quite excellent. That is kind of what you come to a martial arts film for the fight scenes. And they deliver big time. And how in this film. So let's see what else we got here in the comments. Hyphy is out there. He says the 90s films are pretty much garbage when you compare them to the mid 70s and mid 80s. Nassim the Dream says, boxing conversations, we had a good time, family. Shit, if I were you, I would still be playing with that new toy. Shit is dope. Shadow 979 is in the house. He says it's Stormy B Man. Salute, sir. What's good with you, Shadow 9? How you doing, brother? Joseph Brown says smash that like button. Yes, sir. Please smash the like button. I forget to say it. I get to talking, man. You see, I told you when come to talk about these kung fu movies, man, I can talk about that all day, man. Nassim the Dream is laughing. probably laughing. I told him go watch the movie and stop trying to bring those other titles in the conversation. So Joseph Brown is smiling. Naseem the Dream says, I'm going to watch it when we get off here. Hey man, do yourself a favor, watch that film, and I guarantee you're going to come back saying, man, this is what I've been missing. Fuck. Yeah. So Shadow 979 says, at Stormy B, man, thanks again for recommending that film to me, man. Yeah, see, that Shadow 9 saw it too. So ask him. You guys can have a conversation within the chat here about the film with these two brothers that have seen it for themselves. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't never recommend some garbage to you. If I drop it in and say, hey, check this joint out, you better believe it. You know, I recommended a couple of film titles to Hyphy. One of them, he said, oh, he couldn't get with it, whatever. But the thing about it is, it's something that was new to him. You understand? And when you get in there and you start watching some of the other fare that I recommend to you, then you can see why I recommended it and go back and understand that, oh, this is why he recommended it. This is who was a part of it, starring in it and whatnot. Now I can understand why and have a greater appreciation for it. Because that's the one thing I'm not going to do is put you up on some garbage. Never that. Yeah. Joseph Brown says, you can apply this to your life. Don't ever let anyone, not even your parents, tell you that you can't do something. Stay determined and learned in private and became the new heir through their hard work. Yes, sir. Naseem, the Dream is saluting at Hyphy and Shadow 9. Shadow 9 is saying, at Naseem the Dream, go to the Wu-Tang Collection channel. You can watch it there. Yeah. See, I got them on VHS and DVD. It hasn't come out on Blu-ray yet, but as soon as it does, I'm snatching that up too. Naseem the Dream is at Shadow Line. Okay, cool. And Joseph Brown saying it has a great balance of fighting and storyline, and they make it count in the fight scenes. Absolutely, man. This is a great movie, man. I'm not saying that to you guys as just like, you know, talking. You know, almost everybody I know that I've put that film, put them up on that film rather, came back like, hey man, that joint was fire. Me being the Kung Fu film fan that I am, when I saw it for the first time, I'm not ashamed to say, I got a little emotional about it because I was like, this is pretty damn good. It's like for a Kung Fu film, because you're used to just seeing action scenes and fights that go from one situation to another, you know, and the formula is usually really one-dimensional. But this was not. It was pretty good. And there's something about Liang Jiren when he's not wearing his beard. The freaking dude looks like Bruce Lee. I'm like, am I the only one that's seen that? I don't know. Joseph Brown and Shadow 9, you guys seen that film. Doesn't he have a slight resemblance to Bruce? I think it's in the eyes more, and he was a good actor too. Liang Jiren is a very good actor. He did I want to say it's a triad movie where it's not Kung Fu, but it's called Profile in Anger. Man, they're gangsters. These guys are fighting with machetes and stuff, man. Dude, go see that one too. Profile in Anger with Liang Jiaran. He playing a gangster in there. And Gordon Liu is in there with him too. You know, the master killer, the bald head Shaolin brother. Yeah, he's in there. So go check that one out. It recently came out on DVD like about 8 years ago or 6 years ago, something like that. And I picked it up as soon as it came out on DVD, man. Because it, for a long time, was just on VHS. Very good film, you know. So, Shadow 979 says, I hope they don't change the English dubbing once they put it on Blu-ray. No, these films, they will usually, what they would do most times, often than not, if there was not a good English translation for it, they'll keep it and just have the subs. Because I've got it on VHS with the subs and with the English dub. The DVD that I have of it has an English dub on it. That's the same original dub from the VHS. So this film, I'm not worried about that because it probably was in circulation under the guise of a great distribution, you know. One of them ones, media, is like P Stormy B Man and the chat room. Shadow 979 says, you're right. You talking about he looked like Bruce Lee without the beard? Yeah. And one of them ones, media, says, quick question, Stormy B Man. When did Hong Kong cinema go from kung fu to flying through the air with a sword on strings? Well, one of them ones, media, here's a little bit of history for you on the Hong Kong films and Hong Kong sword films. They actually produce the swords films first. Hong Kong fist fighting films came in, I want to say, the late 60s, but was more highlighted by Jimmy Wong Yu, who brought the Chinese boxer into audiences' minds. Empty hand fighting at its best at that time. The sword fighting films were usually made and based on the old Kulong novels. It was like their version of comics and superheroes. So the swordsmen flew around fantastically. Some of them even shot lasers from their hands. It was like a palm fist laser. And they fought dragons, they fought people, they fought masters and serpents and all of this. It's a part of their film lore. And it remained a part of their history. When Jimmy Wong Yu came out with the Chinese boxer, audiences, even though they saw a few fist films before that, it was this film because Jimmy Wong Yu in that film brought together villainous Japanese artists and, karate versus kung fu. And that made people go, yeah, I want to see more of that, And that's why we had hundreds of kung fu versus karate films that came after that. And even Bruce Lee became a part of that genre. But that's what it was. And then after Lee died, the industry was trying to find what would be the next niche to take things back. And the sword fantasy films never really went away. They had TV shows that produced that. They had films that they wanted to compete with the Japanese Chanbara films, and they call that Chanbara, Japanese fighting with swords, you know. So that was something that they did. And Tony Ching Su Tung, who is a director, a martial artist, and a former action choreographer, is a guy who brought the wire work to a new level in Hong Kong films. And that created a resurgence in the late 70s and early 80s. He did a film called The Sword with Adam Ching, he was like a matinee star who made a lot of films. And when he did action films, he did sword play films. And he was very popular. And Tony Ching Su Tung, his action choreography with wired work was highly touted in the industry because he could make the actors look like they were flying in actuality, and it didn't look bad. Before they used wires, they used trampolines, and the stars would jump off of ladders and everything with funny camera angles, put them in a position to see, the action as if they were soaring through the air. So that's one of the things that you need to know about the history of the industry. And it would always cycle around. Like, it'll go from being fist films to sword films to stylish films. And when I say stylish, that's when they're doing animal styles or particular techniques of various martial arts studies. And then it'll go back to a mixture or a combination of all of the above and continue to recycle in that degree. That's one of the things that they would do with the Hong Kong films, and that's one of the things that the audiences, they'll let you know when they're tired of a particular type of production, because they'll stop going to see, they'll stop going to see the productions. And, so, but, this is one of those things that where we can talk about, because there's such a rich history in martial art films. And there are many genres of martial arts films under the banner of martial art films. Plenty to talk about there, You guys have to excuse this little bit of noise in the background. I'm in my basement here. We got the dryer going. It's like clothes being washed. Stormy B, man, needs some clean clothes. I can't be walking around with fig leaves and shit. I have to have clean drawers, and that's another thing. I can teach y'all about, wash your ass, wash your clothes, and put some clean clothes on your clean ass. Don't put no clean clothes on a dirty ass, okay? That's fucked up. Don't do that. So, one of the things that I want to go back to the chat. Joseph Brown says, Profile in the Anger, that came out in 84, right? I'm not sure, Joseph Brown. I don't have the date on that one, But I can look into it really quick and let you know, because in the early 80s, as the kung fu films began to go away, a lot of those action stars were looking for different type of venues to star in, that didn't call it. Yeah, you're right. Profile in Anger is in 84, and Liang Jiaran was the director, the action director, the writer, and actor, star of the film. So yes, 84, Profile in Anger. And if any of you guys know anything about the genre of Hong Kong triad films, oh man, that's a whole nother subject. That is a whole nother subject right there. And maybe one of you guys can break off into talking about that. I can do it, but I ain't trying to hog the airwaves. You understand? Because Kung Fu is a big lane, and I can stay in that lane for a long time. But you get to those triad movies, whew, man, you talking about a whole different assortment of activity right there. So King Louis says, salute Stormy. What's going on with you, King Louis? Glad to see you there, brother. What's happening with you? Dreezy KO, he's saying, is Bruce Lee the most hacked martial artist when it comes to the movie world? Dooley hardly got beat up. Chuck was the only one to touch him a few times. I ain't gonna touch that one right now, because when I do a profile on one of Lee's films, I can go into talking about his choreography, the philosophy behind how his choreography was executed and everything. And I just don't have the time to elaborate on that comment at this time, Dreezy. And that's no disrespect. That's just letting you know that there is an explanation for what Lee was doing and why and how he was doing it at that time. Okay. And even to this day, after he's gone, people reverted back to the things that he was trying to get away from. So, Nassim the Dream says, King Louis, salute family. Shadow 9 is also saying salute. Nassim the Dream saying that Dreezy KO Kareem Abdul Jabbar got a few kicks in too on Bruce Lee. King Louis is at Shadow 9. One of them ones media is at King Louis. Shadow 9 says the guy in Profile in Anger was in the Thundering Mantis as well. Yes, sir, he was. King Louis is again at one of them ones, and one of them ones says, so the wire work started in the 70s. No, one of them ones media, the wire work started in the late 30s, okay, in Hong Kong films. They had a film called The Burning of the Red Lotus Temple that got destroyed during the war and everything in a fire, and it was never salvaged, but it was a classic Hong Kong film made in the early 30s, and they used wire work back then, running the camera backwards and stuff like that for certain types of special effects. They were very innovative in their action in Hong Kong back then, while America was doing the old James Cagney barroom brawl, draw back from North Carolina to throw a punch. Over in Hong Kong, they were doing stuff way ahead of the game back then. Okay. Joseph Brown says, King Louis, salute. Mark Wunderlich says, came in to touch that like button. 100 thumbs up. Hey, man. Mark Wunderlich, thanks, man. Thanks for doing that, bro. And you know what? you can come in for some kung fu too, brother. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We talk some good stuff over here, man. It ain't no garbage. You know what I mean? You catch one of these film recommendations, man, I guarantee you enjoy it. You know? Big Dose 513 says, as Stormy B Man, do you know the name of a kung fu movie that came out around 2006, 2008 that revolved around a swordsman? All I remember is him running up some barrels or something. Big Dose. Man. Come on. Huh? That's half the damn kung fu movies that's made, brother. What you talking about? Shit. One of them ones, media says, cleanliness is important. You better believe it. Wash your ass. Okay? And Joseph Brown says, this great lane to be Stormy B. Thanks, Joseph Brown, man. Salute. Big Dose says, at King Louis, salute my brother. Macadam 1 says, salute at Stormy B, man, with some storm clouds and fire. And Mahari Sports Nation says, what's good, Stormy B, man? And what's good with you, Abel? Abel? I should call you by your name correctly, right? Abel? Mahari? What's going on with you? And Mark Wunderlich says, I'm still here. And Big Dose 513 is laughing out loud. Yeah, man. You named that. All you remember was that scene? Dude, do you know how many kung fu movies these dudes be running over barrels and stuff and with swords? And another thing, in these movies, if it's a tea house, it's going to be a damn fight. Big time. Because they always fight in a tea house in a kung fu movie. Even if they was just passing by. Hey, Shu Shang, let's go over here and get a drink, huh? Yeah. A bowl of vegetarian noodles. And next thing you know, here comes some guy. Hey, where you from? Huh? And a fight break out. That's it. Kung fu movie. You can build a script right around that. Typical. So, Joseph Brown says, what's the next one, Stormy B? Man, let me tell you. You know what I'm going to do? The next one, 7 Grandmasters. How about that? Huh? That's a classic, boy. That's a classic. 7 Grandmasters. I'll do that one next. Okay? And I got to get that guy that 78 recommended. He wants to get on there and talk about some movies too. But I forget the gentleman's name. I have to look him up. But yeah, 7 Grandmasters will be the next one. Okay? Shadow 9 is laughing. One of them ones, media is like, I like Japanese kung fu movies, films like Zatoichi and Lone Wolf and Cub. One of them ones, media also says, also any films about Musashio and 7 Samurai. Big Dose says, man, I've been trying to see that movie. I want to see it bad. It was in English. Though I know that. I mean, the actors were speaking English. Yeah, a lot of them now, they have a lot of Eurasian actors and everything that are putting out action films. But they're not as good as the old classics that I'm talking about, you know. And there's no disrespect to the newer films. It's just that the talent isn't what it once was, you know. So, and I'll do a feature on that as well, about the talent of the Hong Kong industry and why it was so strong and what it meant at that time, you know. Mark Wunderlich says, I got some flicks on my channel. That's good, man. You know, that's good. One of them ones, media says, haha, damn, you really good at the voiceover. I bet Stormy V-Man starred in the Kung Fu DVDs that came out. No, man, that's just from seeing so many of them. I know what they sound like how they act and everything, man. It's funny though. Joseph Brown says facts. T always something popping off. Yeah, T houses, man, it's gonna be a fight. You know what I mean? It's like in a Western when a guy rides into town. There's like a guarantee somebody gonna fuck with him. You know, it's like, oh, there's a new guy in town. Welcome. No, they don't do that. New dude roll in town. Everybody get to looking, start giving that side eye and shit. Man, next thing you know, hey, where you from? You know, it's like just like a kung fu movie, and this shit pops off. Watch a Clint Eastwood movie. The Man with No Name. He always minding his own business, and here they come, fucking with him. And he let them have it, too. You know? Shit. And Joseph Brown says, I was just watching that one. It has similar stories like Legend of a Fighter. A lot of deception in that film. Yeah. Seven Grandmasters. Yeah, I'm gonna do that next, man. One of them ones media says, I think they look at all that wood in the tea house and think there's so much destruction can happen here. Yeah, turning over tables and shit, you know. It's like funny, man, and how that stuff goes down, man. It's funny, man. But I love me some kung fu movies, man. I love me some kung fu movies. I can talk about them all day, man. You know. But yeah, you know, this film, Legend of a Fighter, if you haven't had a chance to see it, you know, please check it out, man. It's really, really a great film. And the performances are great. You know, there's a lot happening in the telling of the story of young Ho Yen Chow and becoming a man. And it's well done for an independent film. This movie is really, really nice, you know. So look here, man. So that's all I'm a cook on today with this. I just want to put this out there today because I said it was coming, and I like to be a man of my word, and I like to put my material out there, let you guys know that I'm still active. You know, I ain't having them troubles no more that I was having with my buffering and stuff like that. We got that knocked out the box, and you could see everything was like straight on today. So, you know, with that, I want to say, you know, peace to everybody that was out there today, you know, rocking with me with these Kung Fu films. Don't forget to smash the like button on your way out. Don't forget to check out the fights tonight. You got Kaunaki versus Areola. That's going to be a knockdown, drag out. One of them guys is going to win. That's all I'm going to say about that. One of them guys going to win. You know? But I want to say thanks to everybody that's out there, man. All the brothers out there, you know, giving me love, showing me love and support to the channel. And this little thing that I'm doing, you know, with the Kung Fu movies, you know. And I appreciate all of you brothers out there, you know. So, with that being said, this is Stormy B, man. I'm signing off. I might have a post-fight show if it's something really worth talking about. Or tomorrow, I'll drop something, you know. Maybe even the 7 Grandmasters tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. But I just like to try to keep it interesting. You know what I mean? So, all right, bro. So, hey, man. You guys do your thing. Oh, and don't forget to tune in to Marlo to watch the fight. You know, because Trey X gonna call that fight, man. And can you imagine Trey X calling that fight on them two big old tubby brothers. That's gonna be something to listen to, man. You know, for real. Yeah, Joseph Brown, definitely watch that 7 Grandmasters so you could be up on it. And, you know, we have to get our brother out there to watch it too, so he don't come in here trying to talk about another movie. You know, he can watch Legend of a Fighter and also, you know, 7 Grandmasters. Get him ready, you know, coming in here asking about 7 Blows of the Dragon, Nassim the Dream. Take your butt out there and watch 7 Grandmasters and Legend of a Fighter and come back and be ready for class. You hear what I'm saying? All right, brothers. It's been nice, man. I'll catch you guys later, man. All right, peace.